Welcome back to a new episode of Gen Z BTC. It's me, Satoshi, and today I just wanted to talk about inflation and the way that the United States inflation rate creates uncertainty. We're going to go more in depth with this. We're going to put charts on the screen. We're going to do all that, but today, because I don't have a lot of time, we're just going to talk about how United States policy and the policy of the dollar, the inflation rate of the dollar, is not only lied about, but it's also just generally uncertain. So the Fed, or the Federal Reserve, they try to set the Fed fund rate, right? That's essentially the interest rate for banks who are parking their money with the Fed. We're skipping a lot of steps here, but just stick with me. So the Fed is the central bank. They're the bank for the banks. And sometimes when one bank doesn't have enough money, the Fed gives them money through interest rates. And if a bank has too much money, then they'll try to move that money around to other banks through interest rates. This is what they try to control. So they're trying to control the rate of inflation or the rate of money printing. They can do a bunch of other stuff that's really crazy and it's going to take too long to get into. But essentially, the Fed prints money. The Fed controls the interest rate. Now, because the Fed is unpredictable, it's a group of 12 people, but really Jerome Powell, he's the head of the Federal Reserve. He has the final say. Even though they try to come out and do their little meetings and stuff like that, they're lying about the inflation rate. And when it comes to what number that they're going to set, how many basis points they're going to cut the federal funds rate by or add on to the federal funds rate, you never know. There's always a probability. And there's the CME Fed Watch tool, which you can go online and use and look at. And that's going to give you a list of probabilities of whether the Fed is going to lower or raise or keep the rates the same. But again, it's probabilistic. There's no guarantees. When you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is a great form of money because of the way that the issuance is already set up. We can always know how many Bitcoins are in circulation and how many there will ever be. Whereas with dollars, they're printing them every day. The banks are printing them every single day. The inflation rate is unknown. It's also extremely sporadic. It's all over the place because they set the rate. They choose the rate. So they can do all this crazy stuff like engaging in yield curve control, and again, when it comes to money printing, they can do that. There's no work needed. It's just pushing a button, send the money over to the bank, send the money wherever you need it. So the predictability of Bitcoin's economics is part of what makes it a hard and very sound money. The United States, the dollar is not very sound. The dollar's value actually fluctuates a lot if you look at the DXY, which is basically just the index of the dollar against other currencies. And when you look at it in that way, when you look at Bitcoin as just another currency that's competing with the dollar, like it's another money that's competing with the dollar, the same way that a yen competes with the dollar or that a pound competes with the dollar, Bitcoin is just competing with the dollar. And it has a more predictable issuance. The inflation rate is always known and it's constant compared to the dollar.